It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. And as we all know, winter is here. For better or worse, it's here. For some, cabin fever doesn't take long to set in. It can be hard to shake, but sometimes all you need is a little inspiration. Joining me now to provide just a little bit of that inspiration is Laura Herberg. She's an outdoor life reporter at Bridge, Michigan. Laura, welcome back to the Metro.
So great to be here, Tia.
Yes, indeed. So, Laura, we invited you on the show today because you compiled a winter bucket list that can get some of us on the right foot as this winter month, that these winter months set in. You began the conversation, though, with this. When the snow starts to fall, some residents lace up their boots and don their mittens, while others think putting a bathrobe over their pajamas counts as getting dressed for the day. That's me.
I might have been writing what I knew as well.
Yeah. That was me, though. So clearly there's a disconnect. So I want to unpack that disconnect a little bit that you're talking about. How some folks, are going to sit down on the couch all winter, and some of us are going to get outdoors. So let's just talk a little bit about how we can bring those two people together.
Well, it's interesting you put it that way, because as you're saying this out loud, I'm realizing I do think putting my bathrobe on can be the equivalent of getting dressed for the day. I am that person, as you are, as we now know. But at the same time, I feel so great when I do get out there and I do just meet winter head on. So this list is really for all of us, yes. Even those of us who think putting a bathrobe on is getting dressed for the day.
And Laura, where did you get the ideas in the first place?
Well, we started with our readers and we're like, what do you guys think should be on a winter bucket list for Michigan? And they started trickling in. And the cool thing about that is, like, a lot of these things I didn't know were out there. So that's always really fun and exciting. And then we tweaked it a little bit. We filled in some holes. We wanted to have a list that was representative of the whole state. So we mapped them out. And, there's something, I don't know exactly, but probably within a few hours drive of everybody was kind of our goal.
And Laura, being someone who actually likes to be outdoors and likes, to do things like that, finding out new things to do within your space or, just a few hours away, what did that feel like, seeing new things that you can do?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Let me tell you, I know it's the beginning of the year. It's resolution season. We're all just trying to get jazzed, right? And so being able to look at this list and see we put 12 things on the list. So there's at least 12 things to look forward to just this winter. Like, I'm jazzed. It gives, I think we all just need a little bit of a disruption from our routine. And okay, I'll get nerdy and a little personal here for a second. I did a thing where I went through all of my photos and, looked back on the highlights, and then I categorized them, the highlights, and put the traits that stood out. Yeah. And the most of my highlights, the trait that made them stand out is they had something to do with novel experiences. So that's what's great about this list. If you look at it and you haven't done these things, these can be novel experiences for you, which is so stimulating and so refreshing.
And we are going to get to some of the activities that you all have listed there. But what was one of the most popular winter activities that you saw in the responses?
Well, if we want to go straight to the top, that's we rank ordered these based on the popularity. So what came in at the top was some people are really excited about the idea of learning to race sled dogs, to drive a sled for sled dogs. Which is in my mind, I'm I didn't think I could ever do that, right? Have you ever thought about that?
I always thought that was some type of specialty.
Yes.
Something that people had to do in order to survive, honestly, where they were in the tundra or in the cold spaces. No.
Yeah, I thought you would need really special training. But there is at least one organization where you can sign up with no knowledge, and they teach you how to stop these dogs. And you can be the driver. Or if you want to ride on a sled, but you don't want that responsibility, you can just chill out, and they'll have some, an experienced driver there. So it's up to you.
I've always just wanted to know. There
right?
I am. Here we are.
What does it feel like?
What does it feel like?
Yeah.
Well, that got to be exhilarating. Okay, so you've got a bunch of people's favorite winter activities, but there are only 12 things that are on the list. How did you decide which activity should be on the bucket list?
Well, a lot of it was a popularity contest, to be honest. Like I said, we also factored in a little bit in terms of making sure that there were things that were accessible, distributed around the state. What I think I unconsciously did, but it came out when we had like a little launch event, like a little webinar thing. And I invited some of the people who like rep these activities, and they kept pointing out that, what's cool about this list is like, you don't have to be an expert. Like so many of these things that seem crazy, like number 2 on the list, climb a frozen waterfall. Yeah. Like that seems insane. Seems like you'd have to be an expert. Well, as I'm sure some of our listeners know, Michigan Ice Fest like teaches novices. Like you show up to this festival with no knowledge of climbing, and by the end of the day, you will have scaled a frozen waterfall. So that's a common thread for this list is like, you don't have to know what you're doing. Like these are all like entry points to these like really extreme sounding things. So it's kind of cool.
It really is really cool. And I like that you're including activities. You all are including activities that people can just kind of introduce or get their feet wet, quote unquote, get them cold, I guess you can say, when finding new things to do and new ways to be active in the winter months. And I really think that the novice part of it, that's really important, that people don't feel intimidated when they are trying to partake in new activities. So can you vouch for that one in particular? You've climbed a frozen waterfall yet?
I have not, but it is on my personal list for this winter, and this is a little tea that I just found in the hallway, but it might be on one of the WDET reporters' lists too. She said that she's planning to be up there. So you guys
can I guess and say, is it our beloved Sasha Ryan?
It might be.
Okay.
So you might have a sick audio story about some Detroiters climbing a frozen waterfall.
Looking forward to that. And a lot of these are located outside of Southeast Michigan. Many are up north where the air is a little bit colder and the snow drifts are a little bit taller. Let's talk about Southeast Michigan first. What are we doing this winter in Metro Detroit?
Well, one of the things that made the list from Southeast Michigan is Detroit Ice Boys, which that's the pickup pond hockey game that happens on Belle Isle. And what's really great about this, again, is it's super inclusive. So there's just like a group of Detroiters who go out there, they maintain the ice, make sure it's safe. And like anyone can show up. You don't have to have like full gear. If you have a stick and skates, like you're pretty much good to go. And the way they pick teams is they throw their hockey sticks in a pile and then just divvy them up. So it's not even based on like skill. You don't have to worry about being that like last person standing there that we all like suffered in high school or just in PE and recess and stuff. So that's a really fun, inclusive way to get out there and make some new friends. Or if you don't have skates or you don't play hockey, you can just show up and tailgate. There's usually grilling and people, BYO. So it can be a fun spectator sport as well.
That's actually really interesting. Had no idea that it had turned into something a little bit larger than what it initially started as, which is now a spectator sport where folks are coming out and tailgating and watching folks have a good time. If you're just joining us, my guest is Laura Herberg, outdoor life reporter, for Bridge, Michigan. She compiled a winter activity bucket list from reader suggestions to help shake the cabin fever and embrace the season of snow and ice. A lot of us need it. I know I need this type of list. Climate in Michigan fluctuates. We've been seeing, Laura, this year so far, like most of the Midwest. However, the temps are predicted that by the end of this week to be at the 50s, in the 50s.
I know.
Have you noticed changes in activities offered during the colder months due to some of these, the fluctuation of the temperatures?
Yeah, this is something that we have covered at Bridge because not too long ago, there were some winters where we didn't get the snow. And so a lot of these up north communities that have really been embracing winter had to think on their feet. And so what you're seeing is some of the ski resorts and things like that, they're really upping like their sauna and spa activities. They're trying to make sure that there are attractions that are not snow dependent. So we're seeing some of that happen.
And when I hear you say, not so snow dependent and, the temps are going up a little bit, I think about folks like myself who can finally like maybe tip their foot out of the doorway and get into some of these activities. But Laura, let's talk about the weather right now. Obviously, a winter activity bucket list is going to include things you need. Snow and ice, as we just talked about. But the climate has been warming. So the first one that comes to mind is ice fishing. The last ice is starting pretty early on. Is there a sense of urgency with some of these? Do you see them changing due to the fact that we are seeing less ice earlier on?
Yeah, no, it's an issue. I haven't not personally covered that one, but I know that the changing ice conditions is affecting the sport of ice fishing for sure. And it goes without saying that if you're ever doing something that involves going out on the ice to know the signs that make the ice safer. So on the topic of ice fishing, that is one of the things on the list, is that you can attend an ice fishing competition, which a little town about an hour north of Grand Rapids now is the host of the U.S. Ice Fishing Championship every year. So they're going to have their event coming up in February. Of course, that's dependent on the ice, but if things I was going to say if things continue how they have been, but then we were just talking about 50-degree weather this weekend. So, but hopefully there will be enough ice for them to have their championship that month.
Okay, so Laura, before we get out of here, I do want listeners and readers as well to know what's in the activity bucket list for the winter months. And one of them, try the Alpine, luge track at Lucy Hill. This one seems like a lot of fun, and it honestly looks like it might be a little dangerous, but fun.
I know it sounds dangerous, right? But so to back up, like Alpine luge, I didn't know this. Like, it's different than the Olympic luge, right? Which is like where they build a sled track. Alpine luge is like they use the earth for the sled track, and the one up in Negaunee outside Marquette is the only competitive Alpine luge in the country. So they say. Cool. But you can show up as a beginner, and they let you get on the very bottom of the track. So it's like the least steep part, and they train you first before you get on there. And I have to be honest to you, it sounds fun and I really want to do it, but it doesn't look as crazy as you and I are probably, imagined. Yeah, because it sounds crazy. But I was like, I think I could do this, and I think you could do it.
I think so too. It seems like a lot of fun. I mean, if you're, grew up in a certain time, Cool Runnings, I think we all want to try it. We all want to try it at least once. So that seems like so much fun. And then one of the other things that I saw, which I think a lot of people might think is really cool, snowshoe through wineries.
Yes.
When I saw that, I said that's up my sleeve.
Yeah, I got to do them. I did that. I saw that when I was doing like an events thing last year. We used to do a weekly outdoors events thing, and I saw it and I was like, that's what I'm doing for my birthday.
Yep.
I have a March birthday. It's like, what do? You snowshoe to wineries.
You snowshoe to the wineries. It sounds like so much fun. I just want to say, Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro, talking a little bit more about some things that you can do during these cold winter months. Laura Herberg is an outdoor life reporter at Bridge, Michigan. You can read that full article in Bridge, Michigan. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us.
My pleasure, Tia.
Coming up, small businesses often have a hard time maintaining office spaces due to rent being too high. A new co-working space aims to be an affordable solution that helps entrepreneurs connect with the community and scale up their businesses. You all stay right there. This is The Metro.